Hare Krishna. So we have two choices. One, the screen is this size. He probably starts writing. I don't know if people behind can actually see. Okay, so one choice we have is all the Prabhus can come and sit here in the side in the front also. Right? I mean that way we are all very closer to Prabhu. So I know hall is very big, unless the objective is to go and sit to the last. Otherwise, we can come and sit as close on the right side. I know there is no carpet here, but the floor is clean. We all can sit here so that we can watch and all the matis can come a little front. Right? It's easier to. And whoever is sitting in the chair, somebody can help the chairs to be brought a little forward. So let's try to be crowded in the front itself. And leave a little space between chairs and matis and goals, so anybody comes can sit behind. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yeah. Stay connected.
Ada ya daw ba? Oh. No, no need. Don't. Light Asian, Parla. It's bright enough. On the lights.
Hare Krishna. Am I audible to everyone here? Yes. Yours is Geo. Okay. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnapreshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachayane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Some is destruction of others. Anubandham Shayamsam. Anapeksha. Now, anapeksha, this is not doesn't mean without any apeksha, without any expectation. It's not detached. It is here, anapeksha means without any consideration, without any calculation, without any assessment of one's capacity. Anapeksha cha paurusham. Paurusham means putting in excessive, disproportionate effort, doing something even if it is hurtful to ourselves, hurtful to others. Anapeksha cha paurusham. Moha is illusion. Arabhyate. So right from the beginning itself, the person is in moha, illusion, when they start the karma work. Mohadarabhyate karma. Yet such work, tamasam, is in the mode of ignorance. Tamasam uchyate. It is said. Yat tamasam uchyate. So we'll recite this 3 times responsively, and after that once we'll recite it collectively. Anubandham Shayam Himsam. Anapeksha cha paurusham. Mohadarabhyate karma. Yattat tamasamuchyate. Anubandham Shayam Himsam. Anapeksha cha paurusham. Mohadarabhyate karma. Yattat tamasamuchyate. Anubandham Shayam Himsam. Anapeksha cha paurusham. Mohadarabhyate karma. Yattat tamasamuchyate. One last time together. Anubandham Shayam Himsam. Anapeksha cha paurusham. Mohadarabhyate karma. to write certain things. Now we can look at things in terms of opposites. Hmm? So we can say stress, and the opposite of that stress could be stress free. Now, if we look at our lives, at one level, we don't want stress. It just becomes too agitating, exhausting. But we also see, let's say, suppose tomorrow, miraculously, say someone, you inherited some big fortune, or somebody told you, from tomorrow onwards, you don't have to do any kind of work at all. All your financial responsibilities, all your social responsibilities, all your family responsibilities, all of them are taken care of. Mhm. You just have to do one thing for the rest of your life. Now, how many of you like humor? Yeah. We all like humor. Oh my God, a lot of people don't like humor. Okay. So, suppose somebody tells you that, Father, now, from if you like humor, you like, say, comedy shows. And tomorrow onwards, for the rest of your life, from morning to night, you don't have to do anything. Just watch comedy shows. And how, would we like that? Yeah, of course we like it. Maybe for a day, maybe for a few hours, maybe for a day, maybe for a weekend. Maybe if you're really fed up with our life, maybe for a week. Even a week is too much. But after some time, you want to do something. Now, see, we all need something challenging, something stimulating in our lives. We need to feel that we are doing something of value. We want happiness, but there are different kinds of happiness. And you could say the pleasure of just watching comedy show and laughing, that's a very superficial kind of happiness. Hmm? So that happiness is like, say, suppose there is a child and we may meet and we go to a relative's place and they have a small child, we want to have fun with that child. We may start tickling that child. And as they tickle, the child start laughing. Well, yeah, in one kind. Then we have a, if we consider this need for meaning is so great for sometimes this meaning at the cost of pleasure is also acceptable for us. Say, for example, when a couple gets married and they decide to have a child. Now, when we have a newborn baby, it's a 24-hour duty. The baby can wake up anytime, cry anytime, be fed anytime. But there is a feeling of that. That's why people want to have children. So their pleasure is taken. You can say there is pleasure, but it's not just pleasure in the normal sense. Our sleeping time is regulated. Everything is not regulated, but still there's a bringing a new life into the world. And that meaning is there. So meaning at the cost of pleasure is also acceptable. Now, if that is the state, we have to be in all. So sometimes it's okay. So we could say best means this is sustainable. Is that if you can find this place. So now, based on these four quadrants, in which of these quadrants do you think stress can occur?
3 and 4.
Okay, let's number it first. Let's start. This is say 1. This is 2. How do we go? 3 and 4. So in which of these quadrants do you think stress can occur?
4 and 4.
4 and 3. Wow. So yeah.
2 and 4.
2 and 4. Yeah. So actually, stress is possible in all four. Even when we are doing something meaningful and enjoyable, but still, it could be that it can be too much too. So in principle, stress is possible in all four. But stress will be most unbearable in which quadrant? Fourth quadrant. So we could say that if we say, let's put it. Is this visible? So, oh, so stress possible in all quadrants, but we could say that it will be most most unbearable here, isn't it?
Depression.
Yeah, I will talk about a little bit of depression later. There's a slight difference between the depression and stress, but it will be most unbearable. If there's something which I don't like to do, and I neither like it nor I find it of value, and then not only I have to do it, I have to do it a lot. Actually, in fact, a little will also become too much. A little will also feel, why am I doing this? So that this is the situation where a person is in what we discussed the word just now, that yatta tamasamuchyate, where a person just gets no pleasure at all. And then that person becomes irritable, that person becomes so shaya hinsa. When people are in this situation, they can get into they somehow want to escape from like they start drinking, they start smoking. They also can start becoming harsh and cruel towards others, because in one sense they are hurting and they end up hurting others. So this is the state. So we may look at, so I want to talk about stress management in a deeper sense. Generally stress management we talk about, okay, I have 100 things to do, how do I manage to do 100 things? And that's one approach to it, and we will discuss that also a little later. But most fundamentally, we don't want to necessarily be completely free from stress. That's why we're talking about stress management. It is not that stress elimination. Because to some extent, we all want some, we may not like to use the word stress in that, if we want to use, but we want some excitement, we want some challenge, we want some stimulation in our life. Without that, we can't function. So the joy of stress, that's our topic. What that means is if we find the place where we feel stimulated by the stress, that's what we are trying to look for. So in the fourth quadrant, even a little extra work, that person, it's like you give them 1 millimeter of extra work and they will give you 1 mile of complaints. So because they are finding neither meaning nor joy in this situation. Now, if you could say here also, it will be still unbearable. Maybe less unbearable, because at least there's some pleasure. I mean, enjoy doing it. But even the things we enjoy doing, we can't do too much of it. So, suppose somebody likes to make art, somebody likes to make music, somebody likes to cook. It's all good, but if you're expected to cook 50, 20, 50, 100 items in one day, well, that's a bit too much. So similarly, it's like a person starts feeling that, I have been reduced to like a producing machine. I'm a person. I want to experience, I want to invest my consciousness in what I'm doing. So now if it is, I enjoy something. There's something of value in it. There's something of value. Of pleasure, nor of value, nor of meaning. Then that's the reason why they will just break down. They will just break down, or they will break others. So now from the Bhagavad Gita's perspective, whereas the intelligence is concerned about meaning, the intelligence is concerned about values. What is of value? So now when work we like, we find it more bearable. Now for doing this, we need some amount of self-observation. That, okay, what are the things that I feel happy doing? So one of the ways to deal with stress is to look at, if we consider the spectrum of activities that we do. Some activities, they give stress to us. And there are some activities that relieve stress for us. It is not relieve, it is relieve. Okay. So they relieve stress for us. So now, if we do this self-observation, then sometimes even if we can't eliminate the stressful activities from our life, if we have some activity that relieve the stress, then doing those activities can help us calm down again. So it could be, say, hearing some devotional music, maybe just going for a walk. It could be praying to the Lord. It could be spending time with the loved one. There could be many things. Each one of us has to observe and find the activities that relieve stress for us. And then we do those activities, we get some strength back. So what is happening is the mind is like, if we can treat the mind like a child. Now sometimes we may have to feed our children food that is not healthy. Sorry, food that is not tasty just because it is healthy. Eat your broccoli, or eat your this salads or whatever. Now, yes, if every meal every day is only healthy and nothing is tasty, that will not work, isn't it? Now, but sometimes upset. So now we may learn something valuable. But still, what you will do, your one class in a week is enough for me. So now some devotees, they will speak nice katha. It's soothing, relaxing. I'm not criticizing, that's wonderful. Actually, I can also speak katha, but my intelligence becomes unemployed. So I need something which is engaging both ways. But anyway, the point is that even in the same activity, even in hearing classes, some classes could be relaxing. Now some classes could be engaging, but still you could say that some classes are in quadrant 2. No, which is the quadrant? Okay, quadrant 1. Some could be in quadrant 2. Now ideally classes should not be 3 or 4. But so each one of us has to find out for ourselves which are the activities that relieve us of stress. And we have them accessible. Just like I was talking about food, we need to have some tasty food also. So, like that, we try to, even if we can't move our entire life to quadrant 1 and 2, but at least sometime we should be able to move there. That especially quadrant, something that is meaningful and enjoyable. So that way, we will have some way to relieve ourselves of stress. Now, when we have to be, for example, in one of the other quadrants. So the point I was making over here is the mind's natural interests and talents. They are a little difficult to change. They can be changed, but it sometimes take a lot of time. Like somebody is interested in music, to get them interested in philosophy. It's like some people come to life when there's kirtan, and their life goes away when class starts. Now they may try to get the interest in the class, but it may take time for them. So we all have certain interests. So now we can try to cultivate interest in other things, but if we find through of a natural interest, they will actually relaxing and fulfilling everything for us. So with respect to the mind, as I said, is associated with pleasure. So it's more of, I talked about self-observation. We observe both our mind and our intelligence. So with self-observation, what do is, we try to discover which are the activities that are pleasurable or relaxing for my mind. And we learn to give ourselves some time to do those activities. Then, with respect to the intelligence is concerned with what? Meaning. Now, meaning generally comes from value. When we find something is of value, it's actually meaningful for us. So, for this, we could have some level of discovery, but here it's not so much of discovery as it is persuasion. That means, say, somebody might not think of fasting as very important, but if they come to know how much spiritual benefits are there in fasting, how much health benefits are there in fasting, then they get persuaded. Yeah, I want to do it. Although I don't enjoy it, I want to do it. So any kind of discipline, our mind, it's very unlikely to like discipline. But if our intelligence is persuaded about the importance of discipline, then we can do it. So for us, there are some things of value which just by our culture, our upbringing, we know that. So we may not like our job so much. But even if we don't, we know, I have to maintain my livelihood and I have to do these things. So that is innately ingrained within us. And because it's ingrained within us, so we do it even if we don't like it. But there are so many things in our life which we may need to remind ourselves of the importance of those activities. If we don't remind ourselves, then are we not one is reminding, but the other is also persuading ourselves. So when we hear, we learn, then intelligence gets persuaded. Then although the stress might be there, it becomes manageable for us. So when we feel stressed, there could be many causes of stress. So we're talking about stress at three levels, at multiple levels. The first is it's stress because it's not pleasurable for us. Then even little stress becomes also too much for us to get. Second is it is not meaningful for us. So now if it is not pleasurable, we could say one thing is change, do something else. But that's not always possible. But if it's not there, at least we could say discover stress relievers for us. Now, if it is not meaningful, again you could say we change to what is meaningful for us. But that's not possible. But here we also persuade ourselves that this is important. And again, I am using the word persuade because we can't force ourselves for too long. It is we who have to become persuaded. Sometimes somebody makes a very strong argument, and we can't refute that argument. But just because we can't refute that argument doesn't mean we can't refuse that argument. At that time we say yes, but afterwards we're not. What is that saying? A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. Person convinced against his will, what happens is, okay, I don't really like it, but I don't know how to refute it. So in front of the other person, we say yes, 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 and after that, when can I get away from here? So we just go back to the same thing. Also, person convinced again. So sometimes when we think of people who don't have willpower, it is often not so much. It is also a possibility, and we'll come to that later. But it's not necessarily always willpower. It is sometimes it's just they're not persuaded that it is important. So persuasion is something which we individually have to do. That's why sometimes when we hear classes also, some devotee, the way they explain things, it just doesn't make sense to us. Okay, yeah. But some devotees, other devotees, they may explain it, it all makes sense. So, for example, if somebody's already practicing bhakti and they've accepted scriptural authority, then why should we do something? Like somebody quotes a verse and says, this is the reason we should do it. Okay. But somebody who has not really accepted scriptural authority so much, say, okay, scripture says hundreds of things, but why should I do this? They need some logical explanation also. So persuasion can come from many sources. One of them is authority. Authority means some authority figure tells me, okay, this person is telling me, I will do it. But generally, authority alone is not enough. Logic is also required. See, authority could be any authority. It could be scriptural authority, it could be medical authority. Some doctor says, okay, giving up this food is good for you. Okay, if this doctor is saying it, maybe that person is a credible doctor, that authority accepted. But generally, okay, the doctor is saying this, but we also like to know, okay, why is this good? What happens if I take this food? What will happen if I don't take this food? So one of the mistakes that we often do when communicating others is that we sometimes just give instruction. But what we need to give vision or explanation. Do this is what authority is, but logic is where we get some explanation. We need to persuade ourselves. So now, how will we persuade and what combination of authority and logic works? That will vary from person to person. Now, beyond this, so I talked about this first one major diagram. Now we can say, so we try to move towards quadrant 1 or quadrant 2. Is it 4? 1 shows it, I got one. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a little confusing now. I'm very stressed. Okay. So 1 or 2, we try to move towards that. But it's also possible that even in 1 or 2, we can still have some stress. And this is where we have to consider one more diagram. So this is with the explanation of this particular diagram. This is the last part of the class. So see, there is the activity that we do. We all do certain activities, and then there is the ability that we have. So in general, again, if you go by this 4 quadrants again, you won't have to explore the 4 quadrants. But if we are doing an activity in an area where we don't have the ability, then it naturally becomes very stressful, isn't it? So now, say somebody is told to memorize a verse. Now some people just their brain seems to just love the challenge of memorizing things. And for some people, it seems when they have to memorize, their brain has gone out of their head. So now, here, somebody may just easily memorize. And for somebody to memorize something, they require somebody memorize in 2 minutes or 5 minutes, somebody else takes 1 hour, and they spend 1 hour memorizing. After 1 hour, they forgot. So, we also have to consider ability and activity. So now again, the best situation is where we have ability and we are doing activity in that area. Now, ability can be various things. Ability can be the talent. Ability can be the training. Ability can also be time. 3 things. And then, yeah, that's what including ability. When does somebody have ability to do something? When say they have the talent to do it. See, talent is like a starting point in doing anything. So if you have to learn music, some people just have an innate talent. Some children just they pick up kartas and then they pick up karta and they just start playing it in a few times. It's amazing. They're like prodigies. So there's talent. Now we may all have a little bit talent, lot of talent, but whatever it is, we all can improve by training. So ability can also come by training. Now, in general, we all can do many things in life, many more than what we think we can do. But it requires, even if we don't have the talent, with training we can do it. And even with training, sometimes for some activities, we may require more time than others. So, whatever it is, ability can refer to all these 3 things. So sometimes we may just not, we may have the talent, we may have the training, but we just not have the time. Because there's too many things to do. So ideally speaking, we are in a place where we have both we're doing an activity and we have the ability to do the activity. Now it's interesting that if you consider we are having an ability, but we are doing no activity in that, that causes stress. Why? Because basically we are probably doing something in some other field, and that is not very enjoyable for us. And on top of that, there's a part of us which also feels, especially if we know we have that ability, that we are missing out on something. We could be doing some service, we could do some justice to our given talents. So there also stress comes up. And of course, big stress comes when we have to do activity in an area where we have no ability. So now it's interestingly, this area where there is no activity and no ability, this is a stress-free area. So in the Bhagavatam there is a verse, there are only 2 kinds of people who are happy in the world. People who are completely transcendental and pure devotees, and people who are just don't care about anything. So the key to be stress-free is not to go in this area. So now we would like to, as much as possible, if we find out that okay, I have to do certain things and I just don't have the ability to do it. Hmm. So this is where I'll talk about this ability point only in one more terms. We often talk about humility. Now, humility is in one sense the ability to acknowledge that we lack ability. Sometimes see, ego means that I pretend that I have some ability, even when I don't have it. So humility is the ability to acknowledge lack of ability. Now, lack of ability does not have to be a permanent state, but okay, that is the present state right now. It could be again, lack of talent, lack of training, lack of time. But if we have the humility that oh, this is something which I can't do, then acknowledging that can save us from a lot of stress. But humility should not become an escape way. The thing, the things which I can do, I say I can't do it. Then that's not the point over here. So generally, what happens is that we have all heard of these three zones with respect to stress. What are three zones? You remember? Three zones of functioning. Where okay, I'll give you a clue. It's like not sir. Okay, yeah. There is comfort zone. Yo,
Stretch.
okay, this comfort zone, stretch zone, and then there is panic zone. So basically, the idea is that say if I have the capacity to lift a 20 kg suitcase, and then I say somebody wants to go for a workout, and they can lift 20 kg and they go and lift 1 kg. Well, that's not really going to help them build muscles. So living in a comfort zone is not so helpful. Let's say we have capacity to 20 kg and somebody uses a 50 kg. That will lead to panic zone. So in general, uh, what what happens is you could say broadly if you consider three modes of fertilization, starting with sattva, rajas, tamas. So I'm cycling back to that. In general, in tamas, people seek to live in their comfort zone. A person thinks themselves clever to the extent they can avoid doing anything. People in mode of ignorance are very creative. They're creative in coming up with excuses. So, they'll just come up with newer excuses for not doing anything at all. Yet agre chan bandhe cha sukham mohanam nidra alasya pramadottam tat tamasam daharata. In 1839, Krishna says that actually such people from beginning to end, actually there is no joy. But you just think, oh, I'm so clever, I got away from that, I got away from that, I got away from that. Now generally the panic zone comes in rajas. In the mode of ignorance or in mode of passion, generally the ego is very strong. And that's why we overestimate our capacity. And we take up far more than what we think we can do. And even if we can't do, we don't want to acknowledge it. And that's why we keep saying, keep doing, keep doing, keep doing. Now, sattva is the place where it is in the strength zone. Where basically we understand this is my capacity, let me do a little bit more than my capacity. That's how I will keep growing. Now, adopting these three zones. So, ideally speaking, if stress management means that you want to come down from rajas towards sattva. Now, sometimes rajas is required. Let's come to that quickly. But going back to our humility, generally we think of ego. So, ego is the opposite of humility. A person has a lot of ego, and that is true. But actually, if you consider a pendulum, the opposite of ego is not humility; it is insecurity. Hmm? And in between, the balanced state is humility. What I mean by this is that ego means to think that I am greater than what I am. Mhm. And so I can do the things that I can't do. That's ego. But insecurity is where I think that I can't do the things which I can do. So when people have insecurity, and what happens is even simple tasks become very, very overwhelming for them. It's not that they can't do it, but just their mind starts going so much in overdrive. They feel I just can't do it. So sometimes we may equate humility with insecurity, but actually the two are very different. Humility arises from a realistic estimation of our ability. Humility is on one side the ability to acknowledge our lack of ability, but humility also means to acknowledge this I can do. See, in terms of philosophy, ego means to think I am everything, I am God. Hmm? Insecurity means I am nothing, I am worthless. But humility means I am something. I am a part of God. So, as a part of God, God has a part. I have a part in God's plan. If I'm a part of God, then I have a part in God's plan. And that means God has given me some abilities. So, when humility is equated with insecurity, then that person ends up uh, becoming like a doormat for others, and they let others trample over them. But when we understand humility, actually, okay, this is what God has given me. These are the abilities that I have, and let me use those abilities. So when we practice bhakti, at the very least, bhakti helps us to come to Sattva. And if we are in Sattva, at least some time of the day, it may not be possible for us to be Sattva all the time. But even if for some time in Sattva, then that is the time when we can estimate what are the things I can do. And then we can learn to do those things. So basically, when we are practicing bhakti, the stress at one level, we have lots of things to do, but we all have the same amount of time, 24 hours a day. And if we have humility, we will be able to select, okay, these things I can't do. And if there's the ego will feel very bad. I can't do this. Sometimes ego also comes in the form of, I will never say no to anyone. Now, we may think it is service attitude, but that can also be ego. I'll never say no to anyone. Well, no, sometimes we have to say no. And saying no should not be done in a dismissive or a disrespectful way, but we shouldn't just reject the other person. But we can politely but firmly say. So, yes, not wanting to say no is service attitude. But knowing that I need to say no at times, that is also intelligence, that is also required. So sometimes, and of course, sometimes you can always go to the other side and you can keep saying no to everything. So in general, this I was going to say that this particular one of estimating our abilities. So if there's lack of ability, then is it actually lack of ability, or is it say lack of will? How do we know that? Say if I'm feeling stressed, oh, I just can't do this. How do I know whether it is really I can't do this, or whether it is just I want a path of least resistance? I just don't want to try it out. So the one test for evaluating this is ability is, so we can link it with purpose. That means if I am doing this for Krishna, and if I were doing something for myself. So myself means, say for example, in my office, my job boss told me that you have to learn this new skill or you'll be fired. Then would I be ready to do it? Well, there sometimes, most times you may say yes, but sometimes you may say, okay, I don't want to go into this new field. So now it's not a literal parallel, but let's put it myself or my boss, or basically some area which I know is either enjoyable for me or is meaningful for me, is valuable for me. So if I could learn it in that area, Now, then that means there is the capacity for me to do this. Now, whether I can do it at now, this time, coming all the other things that I am having, that's okay. That is something which is to be determined. But on one side, acknowledging the lack of ability is humility. But that, if to ensure that doesn't become an escape way, we can think, if say someone else had told me to do this, would I be ready to do this? That doesn't mean that just because I would be ready to do it there, doesn't mean that I have to be ready to do it here. You have to consider other factors also. But there has to be some level of honest evaluation. And ultimately, for Krishna, yes, if we have ability, that's we can do lots of services. But for Krishna, what is more important than ability is availability. That Krishna doesn't read when he says Patram Pushpam Phalam To Yome Bhaktya Prayachati. Tad Aham Bhakti Ushparitam Ashnami Prayatatmana. When Krishna says in 926, that even if you offer a fruit or flower, or a little leaf or a plain water, I accept that. What that means is that Krishna is concerned more about our desire than our ability. Krishna knows our ability, Krishna knows our situation. Krishna knows there's some things we find it very difficult to do. But are we available for Krishna? Available means not that again, I am not saying that we have to be ready for every single service. But here availability means just I'm talking about willingness. Okay, Krishna, I would like to do this service. Maybe I can't do it, but that's okay. So it could be availability just in terms of our consciousness. Sometimes we come for a class, we may not understand 100 things in the class. Well, of course, not 100 things. We may not understand many things in the class. If the class has 100 things, then it's most likely we will not understand. But okay, we don't understand many things. But still we are eager to hear. That eagerness to hear will please Krishna. So, there's a Bhakti poet. He says, actually Tukaram Maharaj in Maharashtra, he says that not all birds can walk like a swan, cannot walk with elegance, move with elegance. But he says that just because all birds can't walk like a swan doesn't mean that all birds don't have the right to walk. Is it? So he says, similarly, I can't glorify you, Lord, like the great poet. Himself is a great poet. But he's saying that I can't glorify you like the great poet said. But that does not mean that I don't have the right to glorify you. We all can glorify Krishna according to our capacity. The desire to glorify Krishna is there. Now, some of us maybe glorify Krishna to give a lot of classes. Some of us may glorify Krishna just by talking with a few people. Some of us may glorify Krishna by one particular service, some by other service. So if we just understand that Krishna doesn't really care so much about any particular ability, Krishna is concerned more about our availability, then we find that even in bhakti, not only our stress will go down, but also we'll find the connection with Krishna becomes deeper. And as that connection with Krishna becomes deeper, then we will find that bhakti itself will become a stress reliever. Sometimes, if we focus too much on doing too many challenging things in bhakti, bhakti can also ultimately connecting with Krishna will relieve us from stress. But sometimes, in the intermediate level or the immediate level, taking up too many big services can cause stress to us. So, if somebody wants to build a very big temple for Krishna, and they have to raise a lot of funds, that can cause stress. Now, that can also be a stimulation, that can also be a challenge. So when you want to distribute books, when you want to organize programs, a certain level of stress. But sometimes it's stimulating. So we focus more on how much we can offer our consciousness to Krishna. So once we focus on this availability rather than ability, then what happens is with this, when our focus is here, then bhakti becomes a stress reliever. I mean, bhakti is much more than that. Bhakti is a purifier, bhakti is a Krishna pleaser, bhakti pleases Krishna, bhakti will take us to the spiritual world. But consider that Krishna is not going to make unreasonable or impossible demands from us. If we're just doing what we can, Krishna is satisfied with that. then our mind will become calmer while practicing bhakti. And then we will be able to connect with Krishna. In that way, we can not only manage our activities in daily life, but also connect closer with Krishna through the various activities we are doing in our daily life. So I'll summarize what I discussed today. I started by talking about how what we want stress. We don't want stress, but we also don't want utterly zero stress, isn't it? Because that could make it life could become completely unchallenging or boring. So I talked about these four quadrants. About there was pleasure and meaning. So we would like to move at least towards quadrant one or quadrant two from wherever we are, and we do that in two distinct ways. For the mind, we try to sense pleasure that will always be limited, but we try to the innate or natural interests or talents that we have, we try to discover them. So we discover them, then those activities can become our stress relievers. And for the intelligence, so basically mind is associated with pleasure and the meaning is associated with intelligence. So for us, if with respect to intelligence, we can bring persuasion for the intelligence through authority and through logic. So with this way, whichever activities we are in, we can try to move at least out of say quadrant 4, and we can try to towards quadrant 3, or ideally quadrant 2 or quadrant 1. And then we'll find that our capacity to bear stress will become more manageable. So stress is most manageable in this quadrant. And we try to move from wherever we are towards this quadrant as much as we can. And then the second part we discussed was that the stress can be there everywhere. So then if you have to deal with stress, you need to look at the other diagram that was activity, ability. And ideally we want to be in the quadrant where now ability, this is quadrant 1, and ability can be in terms of talent, training or time. So we try to look at how we can move towards a situation where we do activities in a domain where we have ability. Now if we are in other domains, then we need to come out of it. So that's where we discussed the idea of humility, that we could say saying no is also sometimes required. So it could be ego that is in rajas, and that will often put us in the panic zone. Whereas the opposite of that could be insecurity, which comes from tamas, and that puts us in the comfort zone, where we just don't want to do anything at all. We're creative in coming up with excuses for not doing anything. In between is humility. Humility means this comes from sattva. Okay, this is my capacity and this is how much I can stretch myself. And in this way, we can develop some abilities if we don't have them. We can do activities in areas where we don't have abilities, but we acknowledge that I need more time than others to do those activities. And also, in this way, if we have the humility, then we understand ultimately that for Krishna, more important than ability is availability. So we humbly make ourselves available to Krishna, even if we are not doing big things. And then when our focus is not necessarily on big things, we are just connecting with Krishna. Then bhakti itself becomes a stress reliever for us, and in that way we can better manage stress in our life. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Then film in this.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
ఇంగ్లీష్ అర్థం కాని వాళ్ళు ఎంతమంది ఉన్నారు? కరెక్ట్ అవుతారు. ఇంగ్లీష్ అసలు అర్థం కాదు. Only Telugu. Oh, not many. Okay, very good. So I think you understood something, right? Right? At the end, Prabhuji said one thing, very important thing. You can forget entire class, but remember only one thing. Ability, availability. Right? We don't have ability, but we are available. Right? How many people came from long distance? We are available for Krishna. That's enough. Whether you understood, don't understood. Whoever has understood everything, whoever doesn't understand anything, both effects, same effect. Because we are available. We are available for Krishna. Right? Krishna will do everything. Right? More than anything, we have got the Prabhuji's association. We are very, 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 very fortunate. You don't understand that. I don't know what it is. I tell you one thing. There are maybe 2,000 to 3,000 people are there in the apartment, right? Everybody knows that the program is happening. How many came? How many came from outside? How many came from inside?
I came from inside.
Yes, we are fortunate. This is called good fortune. Generally people say good fortune, good fortune. What is good fortune? Getting the association of a pure devotee, a sadhu, that is the real good fortune. And we have got that. Okay? Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, whether you understand or not, anything, you can ask some questions, Prabhuji. So Prabhuji, actually I forgot to give the introduction. I'll give a little introduction. So Prabhuji,
Bro, don't bore them now. It's okay.
so Prabhuji travels all over the world. We good person Lilananda Prabhu, I don't know how he got the time. Prabhuji is giving almost 10 days of time in Hyderabad. It never happens. Na bhuto, na bhavishyati. It happens. It's not going to happen. I'm telling you. Prabhuji is giving every day 1 to 3 classes every day. 3 classes. He is really pouring. Every morning we are hearing Gopi Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. We are hearing it's a nectar. Right? Many of you don't know, many of you know not available, but we are getting there. So fortunate. I don't know what we did in the past, but we are getting there. So Prabhuji travels all over the world. He gives a lot of classes, and there is a lot. I forgot to, but we are very fortunate that he's getting his association. So any questions, please, whatever level of your understanding, you can ask some questions. And
Hare Krishna. So I just wanted to inform that the class will continue for another 1 hour because it will take another 1 hour for the prasadam to come. So I don't know whether it's stress, or stretch, or panic, whichever way it is. But at the same time, we would like to use this time, for question answers. Please, you can go ahead and ask as many questions. Not because we have time, but we actually want to clarify, right? Another thing, just about the future programs, Prabhuji is still here for the next 5 days, right? So tomorrow morning in my home Avatar, which is right across the street, right, across the road, we have program about importance of spiritual life in life, right? So don't miss it. It's in Arvind Prabhu's house, right? Block 4-102. You can come there and attend. Right? It's from 9 o'clock. It's from 9 a.m. onwards, right? And afternoon, yeah. In the afternoon, there is a class for teenage children, right? In the Bhakti Center. How many have come here to Bhakti Center? Gachibowli? Yeah. So you can bring whoever has not lifted the hands. Right? So there is a teenage, only for teenagers. So teenage meaning we can start from 13 years of age till 18 to 20, right? And bring till there, right? If you still think you're in teenage, you're not qualified. You have to be in that age. So come there in the afternoon, and in the evening from 5:30 onwards, Prabhuji has selected a very, very unique topic I never heard, as a topic itself, of Sahajism, right? Yeah, so if you're not understood, you have to come tomorrow. So it's a very essential topic in it's a very essential topic, especially in Bhakti circles.
So basically the topic is about emotions. When emotions aid our devotion and when they impede our devotion. That's what I'm going to talk
So it's a very deep topic in itself, very essential for us. Earlier, Prabhuji said he will talk about Daksha Prajapati, and then it got changed. So please come tomorrow evening to Bhakti Center, right? And then day after tomorrow onwards, in the mornings, every morning from 8:30 to 9:30, there is session on Gopi Gita, but this only for anyone who is chanting 16 rounds. So if you are still struggling to chant 16 rounds, you can start chanting today and come for a suggestion. So that's a little stretch. Don't be in panic. If you're only chanting one round, don't go to panic. You can get there. I'm also doing a revision as I'm giving the rounds. So that's the program of day after tomorrow. Right? And I like to tell one thing. Most of these lectures we are trying to record. Quality of recording is always because of the signals inside. But if you have made notes, share the notes. I really feel that whatever we have heard here, even one part of it, if I want to make 4 parts of the screen, even one part of it can become a seminar in itself in your offices, in your workplaces, right? I am without any hesitation in telling you, not that I've seen work, but I've seen work. I've been in Middle East, been in US, seen trainings, big trainings, big corporates, Fortune 100 companies. Prabhu, I must tell you, third class trainings. There is nothing to do with practicality or understanding of yourself. It's only giving some tools. God knows who will use them, just like Pythagoras theorem in our education. But these classes are so essential. Right? I was just telling Harshal Prabhu, he tried to, I'll not name the company, you all know it, but he tried his best to get a session of Prabhuji in that company. Right? And the only thing, unfortunately, in today's world, they see is, oh, it's a monk, so you talk about religion. Right? It's very unfortunate. But what they can learn out of it and what our scriptures are giving. Right? Given a time, Prabhuji can quote a verse about a lot of these things. This is all coming from scripture. It's not any human created logic. And with pastimes from Srimad Bhagavatam, they all can be stressed and explained. But we are so unfortunate that, like Prabhuji was saying, unfortunate. Telugulo effective unti cheptare. Daridram. Daridram. అది ఏంటంటే అది ఉండి కూడా మనకి ఏనంటే అవునా అన్ని ఇంట్లో ఉన్నాయి and you have everything inside the fridge but it doesn't open. Right? That's the situation, right? But what we can do, Hare Krishna, yeah. Oh, sorry, I'll stand here actually. So what we can do is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with Chaitanya Lila, wherever he felt he cannot go, he sent Nityananda Prabhu. Said, you go and deliver. Right? Prabhuji is giving that knowledge, but some places, unfortunately, some part of the world is not ready to hear it because of their misconceptions, right? But we can take the responsibility of taking it. The reason we are having these sessions is not just for us to take it, but also to give it. And when you give it, you get more convinced on it, right? I personally have made so many seminars just by hearing the Prabhuji's lectures. If you go to ISKCON Directory, Prabhuji's Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, you have so many folders and so many lectures. And you also have Gita Daily, right? That's a beautiful website where you can take one article and explain it to somebody. On each verse, there are many articles. And there is spiritual scientists, thespiritualscientists.com, right? There also you can get so many things and give it to your children. If you are coming, how many are from there, from NCC Urban Society? From NCC Urban Society? Okay, now you understood why you bought your flat here, right? Something worthy has happened. Otherwise, there are so many societies. You can buy so many flats, but programs like this doesn't happen. These are the programs which actually elevate our consciousness, right? Will make us think what we are capable of. Tell me, if you have asked this question in our offices, how to relieve stress? right? I had HR for a small company, HR and finance. The moment I asked how to relieve stress, what do you think employees will tell? Or what do you think trainers will tell when they come there? I've seen so many trainers coming in giving this training group about stress.
What should be? What should it be?
Everybody in Telangana, they all understand what is this, right? Drink alcohol and relieve stress. That's all they think of. They don't have anything else. Their brain doesn't work beyond that. Or, in a nice way, take all the employees to a pub or to a discotheque or to a some resort and make them play cricket or make them play coco or some nonsense. Do for one day, and they think that now we are all stress free, right? You're all stress free. That's all it is. There is nothing that happens beyond that. Nobody is educating us to understand in first place what is stress, right? What is stress? Nobody is. So Prabhuji has so nicely explained. Actually, if you really meditate on each quadrant and each explanation in itself has so many examples. So I really feel that we should take this as a something to take each part and convert that into seminars in your own way. While today morning we had a session about balancing spiritual life and life, professional life and all that. So my mother, where is she? She's there, yeah. So she is attending every seminar like there is nothing else to do. She's and she doesn't understand English. Let me tell you. So while coming back from the session, she told me, I felt Prabhuji told in Telugu she was telling me, chala chepparu Prabhuji. Prabhuji eppadi ani nu naaku raatri cheppali. So whatever you heard in the morning, you have to tell in the evening. And today evening is stress management after the willingness. I was actually thinking, when Prabhuji said availability, you are making yourself available to listen to this. That itself is satisfying to Krishna. Right? How much we are getting there, right? So, there are so many messages here. మీరు ఇక్కడికి వచ్చి ఏదో అర్థం కాలేదని అనుకోకండి. మీరు ఇక్కడ ఉండటమే కృష్ణుడు ముఖ్యం. మీరు ఇలాంటి సాధు దగ్గర రావడం ముఖ్యం. వాళ్ళ సన్నిధిలో మనం ఉండటం ముఖ్యం. దాని తర్వాత ఎలా అర్థమవుతుంది అనేది కృష్ణుడు చూసుకుంటాడు. మీకు ఇప్పుడు అర్థం కాని విషయం మీ వారికి ఎలా చేరుతుందో ఆ బాధ్యత కృష్ణుడు తీసుకుంటాడు. ఆ బాధ్యతతో మనం పోవచ్చు. కానీ సత్సంగం ఎక్కడ అవుతున్నదంటే అన్ని పనులు పక్కబెట్టి వచ్చేయాలి. అంతే కదా. ఇప్పుడు కృష్ణుడు వస్తాడు 5 నిమిషాల్లో, ప్రసాద రూపంలో వస్తాడు. కృష్ణుడు లోపల రానికి ఉండాలా ఉండొద్దా మనం? Okay, now you English people see how bad it is when you don't know language. It's a revenge on English. But learn Telugu, there's a little stretch. Whichever we learn. But the point is, what I should look at? Yeah. So Krishna is going to come in another maybe 40 minutes in the form of prasadam. Right? If he comes here and if you are not here, then what is the whole point? Right? You should come to satsang. Devotees, we keep pleading, sometimes we send the message that, this next Sunday is satsang, and we say 0 plus 2 is equal to 2. You've seen that message, right? Right? Who are those two people? Me and the mic. I can't even guarantee my own family if they come along. Right? And then the stress begins. Give your count. Give your count. Give your count. Give your count. I don't know what you are thinking when you see that message. What do you feel when you reflect? But that count matters. As soon as you put that count there, Krishna knows that you are available. You are telling that I want to be available. Right? As soon as you put that count there. And you know what all Krishna does? How many have come from Kondapur here? Anybody lifted it? Okay. Projas from Kondapur. You know what all Krishna did? You don't realize. As soon as you came to Biodiversity Park, it was supposed to be red, he made it green. You don't know that. Right? That car fellow was supposed to go in front of you, he got left shoulder pain, he went to the left. And he's going to come in the front. Krishna is maneuvering everything for you to come here. You don't realize that. You don't realize that. I am coming. There is one Mataji, I don't want to tell her name. If she is listening, she'll understand who I'm talking about. Prabhu, traffic, Prabhu. Traffic, Prabhu. Just start your vehicle, see what will happen next. Krishna will clear the traffic also. Right? Sometimes I really felt that sometimes Krishna is actually maneuvering everything. Can't Krishna manage traffic? Huh? Actually, when Americans come here, what they say? There has to be Krishna. Because how is this traffic functioning? It is true. They have more faith in Krishna than us. Right? So, please make yourself available. When the satsangs are happening, the sadhus are coming, right? Not that they have time and they are available. No. Prabhuji writes books every year. And you are sharing with me that this year's book is still pending. Right? And Prabhuji is here during his writing time and is still giving his time here. Why? Now, by telling this seminar, who is the most benefited? All of us are benefited. Prabhuji can tell this seminar anywhere. Right? But we are benefited. And we have to make ourselves available. Be regular to satsangs. Be regular, right? Put that count there and remaining Krishna will take care. As soon as you put the count there, immediately Krishna will send a message to all your relatives, to your friends, to your neighbors, to the managing committee of the society. Everywhere he'll send that don't disturb this fellow, he's coming to mind. But if you don't put that count there, your uncle will die. Your cousin will create a problem. Right? Suddenly, your neighbor will have his third wedding. All these things will happen on that day. On that day it will happen. Right? Sometimes I wonder why my relatives don't call me. Why? Because I first put the count. As soon as you put the count there, now whose is the stress? This fellow, I never expected him to put the count. First of all, he sent to this concrete jungle so that he can stay away from me. And devotees are coming and creating a, path, isn't it? Yeah, we are all taking birth in this, what is the area called Narsingi? Because we wanted to work passionately, live forever, keep taking birth again and again. Narsingi, Pandapur, Gachibowli, Sallapur, but what happened? Krishna sent his devotee Balgo and Prabhu here. He is creating everything. You're all supposed to go somewhere. He's stopping all of us saying, please come here. I'm going to tell you what is the meaning of life. So much stress Prabhuji puts, on, how much time he speaks to people, how much time he gives to people, you won't believe. Even for non-Krishna conscious suggestions, he is available. Why? He's making himself available so that we can make ourselves available for Krishna. Right? That is the whole point. If you are in this society, you are fortunate because the devotee is here. And as soon as the devotee is here, all other great sadhus will come here. Just a matter of time. Right? Devotee creates that channel through which sadhus can come. And how many satsangs are happening? Since there are many people here, how many satsangs are happening in this locality? Many satsangs are happening in this locality. By Krishna's grace, almost every big society we are opening a satsang. Right? Very soon we'll be opening a satsang in Lansum, Italia. What is it? Yeah. Italia or Italy? I don't know. Italia, yeah. So there also satsang is opening. In my home avatar, there are two satsangs. Subara Prabhu is here, right? Arvind Prabhu is not here. Actually, we have to go. There is a program happening there. So regular satsangs are happening. Green Grace apartment, there is satsang happening, right? And my home Krishi there is satsang happening. My home Vihanga it is happening. My home Ankura it is happening. Aparna societies it is happening. BHL Ramalayam it is happening. Bajpali it is happening. Huh? My home Jewel it is happening. Bhakti Center it is happening, right? So all this started when? All this started slowly, right? All the society, we are slowly trying to go to each society and plant, a gateway for you to reach Krishna. So that sadhus like this can come. 10 years back, there was no satsang in this whole locality. In 10 years, with the grace of Srila Prabhupada, 14 places satsang is happening. 14 places. This should increase to 100 places. By 2030, we should cross the 100 mark. 100 societies, 100 satsangs. So it is approachable. It's available to all of us. Said, please give it to me. So what did you do with it? Said, I keep on my study. There has to be a day when I'll pass my So, I am telling all this because if we can share that knowledge, listening from sadhus, understand a little, put it in our own version and share it. I can't all of you. Right? This whole preaching has to increase. India is the Vishwa Guru for the whole world. It is not a political statement, it is a truth. And that is what Nityananda Prabhu told. There is a prediction that every town and village Hare Krishna mantra will be chanted. Every society will be chanted. And who are the people who are going to make it happen? Us and our children. He was writing notes. Can you show your notes, Beta? What's the boy's name? Can you show that notes to Prabhuji? What you wrote? Just go show. How much he understood. I'm sure he understood more than me. But I was amazed. He was writing as Prabhuji is writing. Go show it.
His number of students in my class.
Very good.
Ego, humility.
I never heard the word humility at that age. Right?
I mean everything. Chai.
Hare Krishna. The greatest service that we can do for a sadhu is listen attentively. First of all, make yourself available. Listen attentively. No donation will please any sadhu. No food will please any sadhu. Right? We have already gone about it. And ask questions submissively. Tadvidi pranipatena. Upadekshasate jnanam. Right? Tattvadarshi is here. Now we have to ask that questions. Right? And that asking that question is a real seva also. Right? Now I'm going to ask all of you, whatever you heard, stress that we are going through, or any relevant question, inner and around it, please ask. Right? So, Hare Krishna. You can pass on the mic so we can ask questions. Thank you very much. We still have some more time for the prasadam to come. I try to best to get it as close as possible. So let's start with the questions. Hare Krishna.
Lilananda, we are a good combination. my class causes stress. Your talk, yours relieves stress.
Sorry to spoke anything. Oh, it's for your virus.
It's a different way.
Oh, it's a different one.
Hey, why are you giving to me? It's not.
Too many tangles.
Okay.
No need. It's all taken care. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The topic actually we selected is the topic which we selected in daily stress management in daily life is very much essential to everyone in the day-to-day life. It's very good. This thing, just I have one question. This humility in the sattva and ego is rajas. Can you just please give some highlight this one more. Humility is in sattva,
Okay.
sattva guna.
So now, one of the characteristics of humility, Krishna explained in 14:11, sorry, of Sattva is Sarvadvareshu Dehesvin Prakasha Upajayate Jnanam Yadagda Vidya Yuddham Satyam. So Krishna says, when all the senses are illuminated, it is not that a person's Sattva, that from eyes some mystical light comes out. No, when he says all the senses are illuminated, that means that the person understands what to take in with the senses and what to keep out. So, for example, what to see, what not to see, what to speak, what not to speak. So basically, where there is prakash, there is illumination, there is clarity. So then we understand what we can do and we accept what we can't do. So that is essentially humility. Humility means if I have a clear awareness of my ability, and I also have awareness of others' abilities. So I am good at this, somebody else is good at something else. So that way, Sattva gives us a clear understanding, and that clear understanding is what leads to humility. So when the understanding is lacking, when somebody's desires overshadow their vision, that means my desire for something is so strong that I can't even see things as they are. So we start believing that we can do more things than what we can actually do. So in Rajaguna, that's how we overestimate our capacity. And that overestimation of our capacity is essentially what is ego. Does that answer your question? Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, you have got a very excellent perspective of the whole stress and how to manage it. And after this lecture, I understood why I can totally empathize with that person who said, "आपका lecture सुनने से दिमाग से धुआं निकलता है." I totally empathize with that. I'm just trying to understand how I can put in a
I'm
different.
just thinking whether what you're saying is an appreciation.
So this gives a very good framework of how to manage stress that comes out of certain actions that we take up or we don't take up. I'm trying to understand how we can fit in a different kind of stress into this framework and get relieved out of that. The stress that comes out of interacting with certain people, be it at work, be it your subordinates or your boss, or at home with your family, be your parents, in-laws, spouse, kids. There's a lot of stress that's involved when we interact with them. I'm just trying to see how I can fit that into this framework. If you can help us, it'll be great.
So you're talking about stress that comes from interpersonal relationships and interpersonal interactions. Yes, that also will fall in this category of meaning and pleasure. There are some people who just enjoy being with them. That we like it, so that's pleasure. I was in Texas in one devotee's house, and they had a coat put on in their home. It was all our guests make us happy. Some by arriving and some by departing. So the idea is that we all will have some people who are difficult to deal with. So because some people fall in the pleasure and meaning quadrant. Some people we just love being with them. Some people just don't like them. But again, pleasure need not be the only criteria. Again, there's meaning. And some people, maybe say if we are studying in school or we are interacting with our boss, or whatever. Now, it may not be enjoyable, but it's valuable. If you are doing somebody's doing a PhD and then you're doing a PhD grade, it's valuable. So basically, even in our interpersonal interactions, we need to move towards quadrants 1 and 2. So if we know that there are some people being with whom causes stress to us, then that stress management would mean that we make sure that that is not the kind of people we are interacting with constantly. We also make sure that we have time to interact with people whose association gives us strength, whose association enlivens us. And then, if we have that association, then we can manage the other association also. Also, the stress can come from many sources, and what we can try to do is filter out so that we are not simultaneously getting stress from many sources. Say, for example, we have had a long day of work, we are already tired, we are hungry, and at the end of a day, we have a meeting with a very difficult person. Then even a little difficulty will cause us to go over the cliff and just get to over. So maybe decide to schedule that meeting at some other time. So one way of stress management is minimizing the source of stress that are coming to us simultaneously. So that way, interpersonal dealings can also fall in that category of pleasure and meaning. Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I have a question. This is regarding the workplace. For example, let's say there's a problem at a workplace. It could be because of your boss, or it could be because of your colleagues, or it could be some other pressure. In this case, usually I could see three choices. The choice number one, to bear it without saying no, accept, and then try to do whatever you can. That is choice number one. Choice number two, fight back. Give them the proper reasons, or try to put the evidences, and then try to escalate things, and then try to fight it out. The third option is to simply switch the job or move out of the situation and resolve the issue. And ethical point of view, which choice would best fit? What is the ethical way? Sometimes we may think that escaping from the problem is not a problem. I mean, it's not a solution. Maybe Krishna has put you in this situation to learn something out of it. Which one is correct way to think about it?
Very good question. So it's interesting that you mentioned exactly those three options. I have a whole seminar on those three options only. I call them as three options are mitigate, emigrate, or tolerate. So three options. Mitigate is where we try to fix the situation, we fight back. Emigrate is we move away from it, and tolerate is we live with it. Now, in one sense, any of these options can be good and any of these options can be bad. Before we choose any of the options, we need to appreciate. What do we appreciate? That this is ultimately within Krishna's plan. It is not that Krishna doesn't know what is happening. And once I know that it is not just this person doing this or that person doing that, we have that appreciation. That's where if we are practicing bhakti regularly, we are connecting with Krishna, and we can see our life as within Krishna's plan. And then we can make the appropriate choice. So basically, when we talk about tolerate, the key thing in tolerate is there are two aspects to it. It is to keep small things small. But it's not just keep small things small, it is also to keep big things big. And in fact, the purpose of tolerance is there are two aspects to tolerate, but the first is for the second. Keep small things small so that we can keep the big thing big. So, for example, say in that job, we are getting very good salary, or we are having very good growth prospects. Then, even if maybe the boss is disagreeable, maybe the colleagues are uncooperative, that's relatively speaking a small thing. Then we keep the small thing small so that we can focus on the big thing. Now, for this, it is important that we be clear about what is the big thing for us. If we are not clear about what is the big thing for us, then two things will happen. One is that every small thing can become a big thing. Or otherwise, when we try to just make even the big thing small, then what happens is tolerate is good, but the opposite of it is suffocate. So when we start feeling that we're not growing in any way in this situation, we start feeling suffocated. So tolerating is not the same as suffocating. Tolerating is okay, this is unpleasant, but there is something bigger over here. That's why I'm tolerating. So then tolerate, but don't suffocate. Similarly, if I want to mitigate means I fix the situation. See, the point is to mitigate, it's not to retaliate. In mitigate, it is what? That this is the big thing for me, but I'm not able to do this because. So then I want to clear the path so that I can do what is the big thing. Retaliate means you did this to me, so I do this to you. Then what happens? Getting back to the other person becomes the big thing for us. And that is not healthy. Similarly, when we talk about emigrate. So if, say for example, there's something which is big for us, and we're not able to do it in that situation, we try to fix the situation, we're not able to fix the situation also. Then we move away from that situation because we want to focus on the things that are big for us, things that are important for us. So emigrate is different from running away. In running away, the focus, our mind is still caught in that situation only. Okay, I want to be anywhere except one time thing that will go away. And we just not split the family because if we tell it, then Dhritarashtra will have to take sides, Bhishma will have to take sides, and then it can become very bad. Let's tolerate it. Let's see what happens. So he in one sense gave, he wanted for him keeping the family together was important. He gave Duryodhana the benefit of the doubt. And you say somebody's poison you, how can you benefit of the doubt? But the point was, for him the big thing was, let's keep the family together. Let's not fight. Then after that, the next thing that happened was, but that point was, if that had been the case, then they would not have settled for any peace. Thought of settling for peace proposal also. So although in the heat of the moment, they had taken great vows, like this, I'll break your heart and I will Ram and those things. But the Pandavas were ready to forget it all when they sent Krishna the peace message. But then the big thing was, in one sense, they were kings, they were Kshatriyas, they had to establish dharma. So they had to fight with that. So the war was fought for justice, not for revenge. So in that sense, we can choose any of these options, but if we really need what happens, is ultimately a satisfying object of thought. We need a home for staying, but we are constantly thinking somebody can be at home and they can be very bitter about various things in life. And when we are attached to certain things, sometimes those things give us pleasure, but sometimes those things also cause us anxiety and fear and anger and so many emotions. So what we are really looking for is a satisfying object of thought. And that's why entertainment is so popular. Because people hope that by entertainment, I just have something enjoyable to think about. So ultimately, Krishna is the supremely satisfying object of thought. So Krishna consciousness means that we will have to think about many things in our life ultimately, but we make Krishna the home for our consciousness. I go here, I go there, I think of other things, but then whenever I have nothing to think about, my thoughts come back to Krishna. So in one sense, if you want to know what is our attachment or what is presently not, it's one easy way to know it is, what do we think of when we have nothing to think of? Where do my thoughts go when they have nowhere to go? Nowhere to go means there's no obligation for them to go somewhere. So what we want to do is, at least for some time during the day, we consciously direct our thoughts toward Krishna. We have to push them to some extent. That's offering our consciousness to Krishna. So that's our sadhana bhakti. So right now we are here in this class, we were doing puja, we do japa. So our consciousness may want to go in many directions, but we try to push it towards Krishna. So that's offering our consciousness. When we do that, gradually we start experiencing that actually this gives so much joy. And we will want to do it more and more. So both. Through intelligence, we'll understand this is the thing of the greatest meaning. And that is good, it's essential. But over a period of time, our mind should also start realizing this is the source of greatest joy. Thinking about Krishna. That's why Mani Asaktamana. So first, our intuition gets convinced that there is value over here. And that's why we push our consciousness towards Krishna even when you don't, if not, you will feel enjoying. Over a period of time, it will be both meaningful and pleasurable. Thank you. Great.
So only Prabhujis are having stress or? Yeah, I think Mataji. Stress.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
We'll take one last question and we'll leave. Prabhuji has to leave now.
I want to understand connection between this humility and humbleness. Is there any connection or?
Humility and humbleness. I think they're synonymous more or less. The same thing. Nothing significant difference.
So the mic that-
Have your personal association, so I have a question. So you mentioned, so how can I change my attitude from ego to be a humble person? Are there any practical tips to?
Well, and maybe I was a bit harsh in assessing that at that time. It can be ego. It doesn't have to be ego. So sometimes, see, we may want to please someone, and that's why we say yes to that person. So it could be service attitude. But what happens is, we are finite beings. And when we try to say yes to everyone, we may consciously say yes to everyone, but unconsciously we end up saying no to some people. So we just can't do everything for everyone. So then if we are saying yes to this, then some people we end up saying no to. Maybe those people are important for us, we are important for them, but they are not explicitly asking us. We meant to give some time and do something for them, but we don't do it. So basically, if we acknowledge that I will always be saying no to some things or some people. If I am not consciously saying no, then I am unconsciously saying no. Then based on that, we can evaluate, okay, if I have to say no, then let me decide which are the things that I can't afford to say no to. Or which are the things I want to say yes to, I need to say yes to. And then start with that. So once we have that clear, okay, these are the things which are, if we could say that, these are the things the things which I have to do. Now I have to do, this also I want to do, I like to do, whatever you want to do. But these are non-negotiable in my life. Let's start with what we have to do. And then after that, we will say there are some things which are desirable for us. I like to do this. I would love to do it, but do I have the time? So in that sense, if you could say in our activities, now there is a foundation level which is non-negotiable. That we have to do. Sometimes when we want to do a lot of service, then we may not get enough sleep. Now if we don't sleep at the right time, we will sleep at the wrong time. So if we don't get adequate sleep at night, we'll sleep during our japa, during our classes, during our other times. Now, if we do sleeping during class or japa, it's spiritually harmful. If you're sleeping while driving, that's quite dangerous. So there are non-negotiables. So we start with that. And then there are things which are desirable. I mean, desirable, they could be desirable for others or they could be desirable for me. Say, now after the non-negotiable is done, then we can look at the desirable. And then there are things which are just circumstantial. It's like if somebody asks us to do service, then okay, the like Prabhu was saying, why me? This is why me. The other person says, just because I saw you just now here. So that means, it's not necessary that we have to do it, somebody else could also do it. So it's basically, it's something which is, which we needn't do it. Now we can do it if we have the time, but if we don't, so then somebody else can do it. And you could say beyond that is something which is undesirable. Undesirable means that we don't like it, unlike it. And that's what it is. Something which we just don't like to do at all. Then in general, if you're doing things which you don't like to do, then we become grumpy, we become irritable, and then we start feeling that, oh, I am doing so much and nobody appreciates me for doing it. And that's when we become a little resentful, we start feeling more and more hurt. And it could also be that it's not that others have, there may be some people who just want to exploit us, but even if that is not the case, everybody has a lot of things to do and everybody may need help. So if we just have some level of prioritization, Prabhupada says, I mentioned this, intelligence, he says, means to see things in their proper perspective. Now this can mean many things, but in our context, we can say that put things in this particular hierarchy. What is most important for you. And then after that, we can talk about other things. So that way, we have to say no to something. So let's do the no consciously rather than unconsciously. Okay. Thank you.
Hare Hare Krishna. So there are books here that Prabhuji has got, and these books are not easily available. And Prabhuji is also here. You can buy these books and take signature of Prabhuji also. Another 10 minutes, Prabhuji will be here. So why do you go and pick up the books that all these concepts that Prabhuji is saying, many of them are also documented in some of those books. Right? There are Prabhuji has written more than 27 to 30 books he has written. Right? He is the author for so many books. So it's unfortunate that some of the chosen books are here, and there are many other books also. You find a whole list. So take this opportunity to buy it. And for the price that you get, this kind of knowledge is nothing for that matter. So please go ahead and choose these books and keep each one at least take one book so you can start reading it. And when you know you have finished it, you can exchange with somebody else who has taken some other book. Right? So please go ahead and take it. Hare Krishna. And there is a Sankirtan happening right now in my home avatar. I don't know who all is going to come from here. So I request you to immediately finish Prasadam and come there. There is a big Sankirtan we are doing in my home avatar. There is a Garuda Vahana Seva for Govara Swami, and we all do big Sankirtan there. So I'm immediately leaving there. If anybody else is coming, please come and join the Sankirtan. And tomorrow morning the class is there. We already announced. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
I wrote you wanted to.
Let us thank Prabhuji with 3 Lord Hari Bol.
Hari Bol! Hari Bol!
Hare Krishna.
Give it.
అవన్నీ దగ్గర పెట్టేసుకుంటాం పోయే కన్నా ముందు